Hello everyone. How's everyone doing? Alrighty. It's morning for me, so it's very strange for me to stream in the morning, but hey, we'll see how that goes. So the plan for today is that now that we have learned something about Dart, it would be nice to put that knowledge into practice, and why not just make a web server, right? And other streams for React. I started making this habit tracker app. So it would be nice to kind of, hey, let's make a web server for it. We can use Dart, try to connect it to an actual database. In this case, we can try to use SurrealDB, as I saw some existing libraries for it. And yeah, we can see what happens, right? So let me share the other screen. There we go. So this is the whole idea of the app, right? A simple habit tracker that we can add our habits. We can track when we, I don't know, completed them or when we failed. And for each habit, we have basically a name, a history of entries, and that's pretty much it. The whole idea is that we don't have an account, just make it simple for now, instead of fiddling with infrastructure. So let's look at it from the perspective of how do we store this data in a database. Because we have several concepts here, right? We have some kind of habit, and that habit needs to have a name and then history, right? History of entries. And each entry in a history would be then some kind of date, when it happened. I don't know, result, success. And this is where the whole question mark happens, because in theory, for a habit, we would have an entry only for situations where, like, yes, I did it today. Therefore, habit completed, and we have entry only for that specific day. And that actually sounds right. Temporarily on the front end side, I had a situation where the server sends us data about, did you complete it that day or did you not complete it that day? Or there's missing data altogether. So I think we can, instead of that, just do, hey, maybe we actually don't need to hold the thing of did we succeed, because the fact of that there is an entry, it's good enough, right? But what we could add is some kind of simple notes for that specific day, because some people like to do like, oh, today I completed it, but it was really tough, right? And you could review that in retrospective over some kind of time to see how it went, right? You could scroll through history, see all your notes. And what else is needed? It seems like nothing else. We have multiple habits, each has name and history, and that's pretty much it. So how do we model it in a database? In our case, we'll use SurrealDB, something I used on Livestreams a lot. So we could literally have a concept of a habit, right? That will be one document. It has a name, and then we could either store all the dates in history for each habit, which kind of would be fine, but let's say you're actually sticking to your habit and using this app for 5 years, right? 5 years, maybe 300 entries in a year, and suddenly you have like, oof, that's a lot of entries, right? What is it, 1,500 entries? We don't want to store it all inside of one document. So maybe instead we're gonna make a history entry as a separate thing that simply points at the habit, right? Something as simple as that. Similar to a relation database, because we can easily just, hey, filter me all the history items for the habit, maybe in the last 30 days or last 10 days to display them on the screen, right? So that should be relatively simple. And that would be all our schema. So nothing crazy, simple for a little learning project for how to use Dart on the web. I mean, on a server side. And that's it. Okay, I know that I deployed a little container on my NAS for SurrealDB, so we have that in place. And yeah, let's get to it. So maybe first we can figure out how to even set up a Dart project. Because we haven't done that like properly before. The only thing we did so far was like, oh yes, yeah, let's create a new project. I mean, new folder and slap on a Dart file and run from command line. So that's what we were doing here. But in my case, I know that I have the habit tracker. And we have the front end already, right? We have the front end. We have the front end directory, and we would need to have an additional one, which will be backend. And that will be our Dart project. Come on, move. There we go. So front end will be React, backend will be Dart. So now how to create a project? So I was recommended to use Android Studio for Dart. Apparently that's the best IDE. It looks like a JetBrains IDE. I already tried it out with an existing project and it feels fine. So let's see if we can do like new project or something. What do we have here? We have a bunch of apps. I don't care about that. Wear OS, television, automotive, XR. That's it. Okay, so we don't have we don't have a builder for that here. Okay, I guess we're going back here and we'll be running from command line. Where are we? Wait. Working directory, we're in the front end, so let's go to backend. Okay. We're in the backend, and does Dart have some kind of create a project? Let's see. Let's figure it out. We have just verbose, available commands, analyze, compile, create new Dart project. Look at that. That's what we need. So it'll be Dart create, and can we get help for that? So we have some kind of arguments and which directory. All right. So we can specify dot as this directory. And then we have template. Look at that. We can do CLI, console, package, server shelf, or web. Okay, we used that before, right? We used the server shelf to kind of scaffold that. So we can use the same, but at the same time, I want to see if I should use the shelf server or maybe some kind of alternative. But for now, let's see what happens when we're gonna do Dart create a template server shelf, right? And we're gonna put it in this directory. Let's see what happens. Already exists. Use force to force project generation. Oh dear. Force. Is that okay? Yep. So what do we have here? In our backend, we suddenly have million files. All right. So you got our README, which tells us that okay, is being built using shelf. It can run with Docker, and it just responds to the root and echo HTTP requests. Okay, and running the sample, just get the SDK, right? And Dart run bin server Dart. So Dart run, we have bin server.dart, right? And it's listening apparently. Okay, that's great. That's good enough. And then from a second terminal, we can just run stuff to it. So that's not a big deal. And running with Docker, I don't care. At least not now. All right, so README is simple. We have our pub spec, which is something like package.json, I believe. And name backend. We don't want to name backend. This will be habit tracker API. How about that? A simple web server for the habit tracker. Let's call it simple web API server. There we go. So we have the SDK of Dart, and then we have that shelf web server and the router. from it. And dev dependencies will be HTTP, lints, and test. Okay, whatever those are. All right, we have a log file. We have a Docker file we don't care about, even changelog. Analysis options. None. All right, so not a big deal. Forget ignore. We ignore only Dart tool. Okay, so that's not a complicated one for that project. We have our tests and binary. Binary is just that one server, right? Sure. So yeah, that was just packaged. Let's make it smaller because pop-ups are driving me nuts. Yep. Configure the router. So we have those two routes, two endpoints, and we just have handlers for them. And in main, we just do, hey, get me IP address, like any IP address. All right. And just add a middleware for logging requests. So we have example of that. And handler will be basically our router to route stuff. And then we deploy it, right? And that's it. So from that perspective, it's really simple. But I did prompt Google, the Google thingy, to give me some kind of, do some research on modern Dart REST API frameworks. Are there alternatives? Because last time we looked at it, we found, awesome Dart project on GitHub, but it was like 2 years old. So I think that in the last 2 years, Dart developed a lot more. So let's just cut through all the BS from the AI, evolution and Dart server, new era. Wow, great. 3 pillars of modern Dart backends. To categorize the available frameworks into 3 distinct physical pillars. The model provides a clear framework for blah. So we have the foundational layer, like unopinionated and flexible. That's the shell, right? That's what we already have here. So great, it's a good base, minimal and elegant API, and pipeline that processes incoming requests, right? We saw that we could use the router as a handler or throw in some middleware, and that seemed to be really, really simple. So from that perspective, great. But what is the other option? The minimalist framework, opinionated and productive, Dart Frog, okay? The middle ground is Dart Frog, a fast minimalistic backend framework developed by a Very Good Ventures and recently transitioned to community-driven organization. Okay. So Dart Frog is built directly on top of Shelf. All right, so we're extending Shelf, but introduces a layer of opinionated conventions designed to optimize developer productivity. Okay, so with Shelf, we have total freedom, right? Because all we have is literally started by calling server, await serve, right? Assemble some kind of pipeline, and the rest is up to you. There's no opinion on how to structure it. There's no opinion where and how things should happen. Just go for it. You have your tools and it's up to you, right? And sounds like Frog is trying to do a little bit more, to be a little bit more opinionated. Okay. So its most prominent feature is a file-based routing. Ooh, that's fun. I like file-based routing, where the directory structure is routes folder directly maps to API endpoints. Lovely. Okay, I'm already loving it. Eliminating the need for manual router configuration. Yep. Combined with features like hot reload, built-in dependency injection, whoa, and dedicated testing library. Okay, so that's nice. I really like hot reload and dependency injection. And it aims to provide smoother, faster development experience for building standard REST APIs. Okay, great. Shelf bricks? What? What is that sentence? While still being composed of the same fundamental shelf bricks. Oh, whenever we have a little thing, it just starts a new line. Okay. Wow, they should fix that. Okay, and then we have the The integrated powerhouse, batteries included, and full stack server pod. Okay, so we haven't heard about that one. And Naren says hi. How? Hi. How are you? So at the most abstract and feature-rich end of the spectrum is ServerPod, explicitly marketed as the missing server for Flutter. Flutter. Okay. ServerPod is a highly opinionated, batteries included framework that functions as a complete full-stack solution. Ooh, full-stack solutions. Okay, so it will try to serve you Flutter or something. Its architecture is fundamentally based on remote procedure calls, whoa, okay, and heavy code generation to create seamless type-safe communications layer between the Dart server and Flutter client. Okay, so this is more of a specialized thing. We have Flutter app, right? There you have your mobile app, and while you're developing that, you can, instead of deciding on your own, oh, I'm gonna make an REST API server, this will generate stuff for you and kind of seamlessly integrate. So in my case, just no, I'm not even reading. So deep dive, server pod, app server, whatever, the core features, code generation, ORM database. That won't work for us because we're going with SurrealDB, so we don't care about Postgres and other like standard SQL stuff. Built-in services, we're not doing any login, we're not storing any files, so we don't care. Yeah, Dart Frog. That's gonna be it, I guess. Always routing, middleware. Okay, so we still have that. Dependency injection. The framework includes simple but effective dependency injection mechanism. Services such as database connection pool or business logic class can be provided. Okay, at a high level and then read from the request context. Okay, and we have developer experience emphasis, so that's awesome. And it's wrapped around shelf, so we kind of have the familiar basis. And then shelf itself, which is like, oh, we have on this middleware, pipeline, request response, and that's it. And then shelf, I guess, provides WebSockets and other stuff. I wonder if something like that we could still use from something like Dart. And then it says, what's your name, uncle? Yeah, I'm somehow fine. I ended up here by random feed suggest of your life. From Nuncius, finding hard to start Java, especially oops, as in OOP, object-oriented programming. Well, if you're starting CS, initially the object-oriented programming might be like, wow, we're really overcomplicating things, right? So I get that. I remember I was stuck at that at some point too. I'm Ben, right? Uncle Ben. That's funny. And can you guide how to start and without stuck in tutorial hell and make small projects? So you said you're specifically wanting to go into Java. Why Java? Why specifically Java? That's my first question to you. Why did you decide on Java? Or did you mean JavaScript? But considering us saying that you're doing OOP, then probably Java. All right, so this is about shelf and stuff, blah, blah, blah. So head-to-head competitive analysis. Yeah, we don't care. We already decided. Performance benchmark, look at that. Request per second and whatnot. Okay, shelf is faster than that. Dart Frog, and pure HTTP server is even faster, but not a big deal. This is gonna be one-person project. We don't care. Okay, so health and maintenance. Hub points. Server pod and Dart Frog are, wow, Dart Frog even goes up, right? And Shelf. So popularity. Shelf is super popular, right? Because it's part of the standard development kit. Okay. I mean, software development kit, but it's just part of the standard. So of course it's gonna be 2 million because everyone kind of has it. But then Dart Frog is actually more popular than SurrealPod. Okay, so that's good. Major update was 2 days ago, apparently. Okay, nice. And then we have some additional ones. Alfred, Angel 3, and whatnot. Okay. Let's check out Dart Frog. You have Dart Frog. Not that. How about we throw in GitHub? Very, very good open source, right? There we go. And there it says, I'm just joking, Uncle Ben, because you mentioned, what's your name, Uncle? I'm just Ben. Whatever. Well, people told me either start with C, C++, or Java, so it can be easier to get jobs. Also, Java can cover all concepts, so I thought we can learn other languages easy. I'd say nowadays, I wouldn't recommend starting with something like C, C++. That's sometimes, in the university, they will do that, but at the same time, they will teach you like basic concepts of how computers work behind the scenes. And that's a little bit much to figure on your own from the beginning. So I would recommend that you pick a language that you will be able to easily learn and pick up. Therefore, your first experience won't be like, oh my gosh, this is so hard, this is pointless. And then from there, while you have familiarity with, how to control flow, or if else's, your while loops, some kind of work it out, it's intuitive for you to work with it because you made a few projects. Then you can move on. Maybe I want to, suddenly you realize I want to try static typing, and you go into Java or maybe C#. I would recommend to go C# rather than Java, because Java is kind of syntactically, it's slowly dying, hopefully. But there are so many options. I'd say, considering it's still like growing in popularity, and it's for years one of the simplest like starting languages, start with Python. I'm actually considering doing live stream of learning Python too, because everything AI related uses Python. AI is best at writing Python, and that would be it. I wouldn't say, start with JavaScript, because that's something you often see. But then if you're going to start with JavaScript, you'll be pointed towards everything web related, kind of like I'm doing here. And that's another gigantic set of things to handle. So I would say look up Python, and sure, start with a tutorial to kind of get an idea of how it works. But in my opinion, if you really want to have a good start in computer science, I know, go look up the best books about Python, literally get a book and go through a book. You're gonna learn so much more, not just about the language, but why things work in the way they work, maybe a little bit of background or something. If you'll find a good book, your life will be so much easier because you'll have like a good reference. So, I don't know how often people recommend books instead of a tutorial, but that's how I would do it. All right, getting back to Dart. We had the Dart Frog. So yeah, fast minimalistic backend framework for Dart. We have some kind of documentation and quick start. In order to use Dart Frog, you must have Dart installed. Great, of course. Install the Dart Frog CLI from pubdev. Okay, so we have entire CLI. Use the Dart Frog create, start a server, and go straight into production mode. Okay, so you can create new routes and middlewares from the CLI. Okay. So Dart Frog is built on top of Shelf and Mason. What is Mason? Simple template generator, which helps generate files quickly and consistently. Okay, so I guess that's for doing the CLI stuff. Inspired by many tools, including Remix Run, Next.js, and Express.js. Okay, so I guess the Next.js for file-based routing. And Aaron says, thank you. Yep, go for it. Try Python. You're not gonna be... don't worry about like, oh, I started learning Java. If you start learning that, it will translate already to Python. you'll just have easier time kind of grasping some of the concepts and actually getting something done instead of being stuck in a limbo of like, oh, I can't complete everything because there's too much to learn. Yeah, Python will feel fun and light suddenly. Alrighty. So yeah, let's try this. Let's just take a look at documentation first. What is this about? Okay. So concepts, wow, introduction, routing, middleware, testing. Okay, so let's take a peek. Getting started, goal is to make it effective and whatnot. So we have the same starting point. Customize the running server, you can use the following options, port, Dart service port, all that stuff. So it looks like we need to start it with like their CLI, which is kind of weird, but okay. I can live with that. So help reload, Dart dev tools, file system routing, index routes, nested routes, dynamic routes, middleware, dependency injection, production builds, Docker, static file support. Oh, that's nice. WebSocket support too. Nice. That's even VS Code extension, everything. All right. Okay. Looks like this actually has some support to it, right? Blah 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 blah. So yeah, let's go. Dart pub global activate Dart frog CLI. We're gonna straight up run it. So in that case, I'm gonna go and close the Android Studio because we are not going to use it. We're gonna go purely with this, right? So we might actually delete all this stuff. So yeah, let's just delete the existing stuff, everything in the backend. Move everything in here. There we go. Bam. 8 files. Yes. We still have some of those. So let's actually go and remove the backend. Okay. So now we're gonna do create it. And then we are doing Dart pub global activate Dart frog CLI. Let's see. Download packages, bunch of stuff. Okay. All right. So now we should be able to run it, right? Creating project, Dart frog, create, and the name of the project. So sure. Dart frog. Whoa. Create, and let's call it something like habit tracker API, right? Not found. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, we need to add it. Really? I don't like that. Come on, let's copy this thing. And temporarily, let's just put it here, all right? And now we should be able to run it. Now valid package name. Oh, we need to have it like underscores or something? Yeah, they used underscores. Okay. I guess that's a Dart thing, right? Okay, we've got the API, installing dependencies. Get started by going in Dart frog dev. I guess I'm gonna add it to my path for now. Let me just do it on the second screen quickly so that we don't have any further issues. Okay. All right, that's done. Okay, so in this case, let's look at what it generated. It generated a folder, habit tracker for us. So in my opinion, I'm gonna grab everything and just move it to backend. Move. And there's nothing inside habit tracker, right? Yep, absolutely empty. And we need to, come on. There we go. Beautiful. So I have our README with everything, pub specs. So what we can do is, I guess, open this as a folder. So repos, habit tracker somewhere here. There we go. Backend. And we'll focus purely on this. This way, I hope this will run a little bit better. Okay, so our README. Okay, license badges and all that stuff. Great. Pub spec YAML. So, okay, a new dot for whatever. I don't care about README stuff yet. Environment, all that stuff. Dependencies, Dart frog, and then dev dependencies is mocktail, I guess, for testing. Another test and very good analysis, and that's it. Okay, simple, simple, simple. And this is a bit different now. We have linter rules for file names, which is false. Okay. And that's it. Some more stuff here. Okay, so this already seems like a little bit more complete Dart project, something that actually makes some kind of sense. All right. So let's look here. We don't have any single Dart file here. I guess that's why we need to run everything from the command line, because we just have the routes, right? A single route, index, which on request says welcome to Dart frog. Okay. All right. So this is this kind of project that just abstracts everything away and needs to go through a CLI. Interesting. Okay. So basically, if we're gonna start it, and what we're supposed to start it with? Dart frog dev. Dart frog dev. And that will serve it, right? Localhost 8080. Localhost 8080. And there we go. Welcome to Dart frog. Okay. All right. Can I move this tab somewhere, like to a different screen? Not that easy. Oh, this browser is killing me sometimes. Where is the weird split thing? What the heck? How can I grab this thing? Like this? Okay. It won't let me at all. All right. Screw that. Close that. Go here. Zen browser. And let's hope we can have another instance. Looks like we can. Okay. There we go. Okay, so hot reload is enabled. If I'll say, instead of welcome to Dart frog, I'll just say welcome here. We'll save it. And therefore, if we go here and refresh, welcome here. Okay, I like that. That will be useful. So we have our index, and in tests, we already have a test. Import some test packages. Okay. Class mock request context, which extends mock and implements request context. Okay, so that will be like the usual thing. And when we have get, response with 200 and welcome to Dart frog. So that will be blah blah. Expect it to be an okay, and expect the body to be welcome to Dart frog. So how do we run tests in here? No info on that. Production uninstalling, feature set, testing. There we go. So we have the basics. I just want to run them. How do I run them? Stubbing, middleware, nothing about running. So let's close this and do Dart frog. And what do we have here? Build, create, daemon, dev, help list, new, uninstall, update. Oh, nothing about tests, really? Okay. Do we just do something like Dart test? Will that be okay? Yeah, it ran it, but it's like, oh, it failed. Does it tell us what it was? This is a future string, welcome here. There we go. So if we're going to say that we expect welcome here, is it going to succeed? Yes, it passed. Okay, all right. So we know how to run tests. We know how to deal with routes. So that's great. All right, I need to get my cat out of here. So I'll be back in a second. Alrighty, I'm back. Alright, so we know that we can do routes. Let's just take a look at how we can actually, we suddenly need to get back to documentation and kind of browse what we can do here. Because we don't have like the classic project, so how do I use other files and services and whatnot? So in Dart Frog, a route consists of an onRequest function called a route handler, exported from Dart file and the routes directory. Each endpoint is associated with a routes file based on its file name. Files named index Dart will correspond to the just root endpoint. For example, if you create routes hello Dart, that exports it to be /hello. Okay, great. So on request and bam, great. Creating routes. Managing routes in Dart Frog is essentially as simple as managing the file structure under routes. To help on the creation of routes, Dart Frog provides CLI command to generate new route. Like, okay, I want /hello, and we'll just create a file for you in a proper spot, I guess, with this basic few lines, right? Okay, and install and use Dart Frog VS Code extension to easily create new routes within your IDE. I want to see that. Dart Frog. There we go. Look at that. We can do new project on the routes. Right click, create new route. Case bullet play for you. Sure, why not? Let's have all the extensions, right? Oh, and now we can actually run and debug. Look at that. If we're gonna run it, requires Dart Frog CLI to be installed. We have it installed. What the hell? Install different? Nope. Okay. I mean, it's starting something. I think I just need to restart it. And that will help it. And still not installed. So there is something with that it won't work for us correctly. I think it's because I have the Dart SDK installed in some weird way. And it doesn't like it. So this probably won't work. Create new route. Yep, it just won't. Okay, so we're saying Dart frog. Goodbye. Problem solved. We can still do our dev, right? Yeah, so that works, no problem. Okay. Oh well, we'll run commands manually. all route handlers have access to information regarding the inbound request. In this section, we'll take a look at various ways in which we can interact with inbound requests, like request context. All route handlers have access to the request context, which can be used to access the incoming request, as well as dependencies provided to the request context. Okay. So everything will be coming through context. All right. So we have the request and the stuff here, and then we just do return that. HTTP method, a single route handler is responsible for handling inbound requests with any HTTP method. Oh, okay. So we don't have like, it's just per route. We might have just multiple, get posts and stuff within a single file. Interesting. The HTTP method of the inbound request can be accessed via context request method. Okay. So request, access the incoming request, right? And method is request method dot value. Why dot value? We can make a get request to the above handler, and we should see this. So how does it work with this dot value? So I can say, final request is context, right? And we have, for example, a request. Method is the request dot, we have headers method, which is HTTP method, right? What's the problem with this? Dead code. Oh, wow. Okay. So HTTP method, what the hell is HTTP method? We can't click on it, right? All right. So method dot, we have value, which is a string. We can get index hash code. No, we don't care about that. To string. I guess it's some kind of enum or something. And with a value, right? I guess that's what it is. Method is just an enum. So we don't even have to use the convert it to a string, I guess. Can we do switch over method? Right, case, and it get, no. Huh. So I would need to do this, I guess. That's weird that it has this whole value thing. And that dead code underlining drives me nuts. Okay, great. So you can make get request to see that this is a get request, right? Because it's gonna print it out here, set request, and all that stuff. Then we've got headers. So we can access headers and do something with them, right? Query parameters are just as request URI. So we get like the URL, and from there we can extract the query parameters. I guess the same thing will be with like, wait, so these are query parameters. Excuse me. But what about the route parameters? Do you have support for those? And we can make a request to this, whatever, with this, whatever, name dash, and we'll just get it, right? So that's great. So let's just ignore the route parameters for now. We can access the body of the incoming request via context request body. Okay, and what is it? Just as text? Access request body as a string, right? So the request body can only be read once. Okay, that's good to know. We can make that, and as JSON, we basically, when content type is application JSON, you can use context request JSON to read the context of the request body. Okay. So we have this, and body is just request.json. Okay, but it won't work if won't be marked as application JSON. So that's good to know. We can't just force it. Huh. Yeah, because there it is. In our request, we're specifying, hey, this is application JSON. So that's something we'll need to look out for when sending stuff from React. We have form data. Excuse me. We don't care about form data right now. We won't be using it. And then we've got responses. So all routes handlers must return an unbound response. In this section, we'll take a look at various ways we can create a custom response. So in the status code, we can customize the status code of response via status code parameter. Okay, so this is a name parameter. Cool. We can specify headers by the headers parameter. Okay, so it's just a map. And we can provide a body. Is that always a string? Because this is a string, but in addition, we can return JSON via response.json constructor. Okay, so we still probably have the headers or some other stuff. But in this case, we say it's a string dynamic, which is like purely JSON. So we convert the map. I guess we need to convert the map into that ourselves. Okay. We can also return any Dart object in the body of the response JSON constructor, and it will be serialized correctly as long as it has two JSON methods. Excuse me. Mornings are tough for me. That returns a map string dynamic. Okay, so it needs to have two JSON on it. Check out JSON serializable to automate the two JSON generation. Okay, there we go. So we'll need to remember above that. We'll open up in the background. Because I don't feel like writing my own serializers. Ew. Caution, JSON serializable uses build runner, which expects code to be within the lib directory in order for the code generation to step to work. Make sure the user model, below is located somewhere within the top level lib directory. Top level, lib models, user Dart. Okay. Just somewhere within overall. So we can basically create our lib, let's say models, and throw in a user in there. Okay. So that's fine. And we basically include the JSON annotation in our model, right? We mark it with JSON serializable and whatnot. That's great. Okay, so maybe we'll try to actually create some model or something, right? So besides this here, in the backend, we're gonna create new directory, lib models. Okay, we'll just go straight up with that. We'll have 3 different models and that's it. So new file, and let's call it. We don't deal with users. In this case, we either have habits or habit history entry. So let's do habit history entry. Dart. How about something like that? We'll copy paste some code. So the idea is we copy this package. Yeah, let's just copy the thing, right? And see what happens. So we have this. It doesn't exist. File reference by UI. Let's ignore that. User G Dart. So we'll all basically be generated. Habit history entry. Do JSON serializable and habit history entry. Okay. So in this case, we'll have a date and name. So we have date time. Sure, let's go with date time. So it'll be, I don't know, created at. Okay. Something of that sort. Oh, wow, this whole highlights is just horrible. Everything's having underline. I don't like that. And wow, user to JSON. And this will be what? Habit, history, entry to JSON. Okay, I already don't like that JSON serializable because I need to what? Include this part and do this weird part. It was supposed to do that for me, right? So that's the thing. It generates some code for us, but it's like you need to put it together yourself. So that sucks. So we don't have this. Required and this dot created at. So we'll need a date, and instead of name, we'll just call it notes. And notes are not required. Let's make them required, whatever. Or no, let's not make them required. By default is just empty string, right? And that's that. So now let's figure out how to add that JSON serializable. How do we install it? Setup. Configure project for latest version. See example. JSON serializable. So we're straight up not including it anywhere? Or do we need it as dependencies? Because we have JSON annotation / JSON annotation Dart. Let's define this. To generate, I could provide arguments. This is the example. So what's inside pubspec? Dependencies is JSON annotation. Okay, so we just throw it in here, and then we have JSON serial shared test. No, we don't care about that. It's by tests, not required. Build runner is required. What the heck? JSON serializable. Okay, so we just need straight up JSON annotation. That's one thing that we need. I guess that will be this part. Ay, ay, ay. Let's try that. Let's try it like that. And dev dependencies, we need build runner, whatever that means. I guess, okay, that's probably a package that allows us to run some code during build time, right? And then is by tests, we don't care, required. JSON serializable. Oh, we need to install that one. I don't care about versions yet, but whatever, right? So we've got this one, not required, which is path and test. Okay, great. So now if we're gonna, I guess, pub test run itself. Now habit history, okay, a little bit less underscores. It's just this isn't happy because it hasn't been generated yet. So the moment I'm going to do dartfrog dev, it's gonna generate it, right? It's running and that's it. What the hell? Am I going to live with errors forever? This is okay, just whatever response here. I want to see what happens if I can actually refresh. Okay, so that works. No big deal. I can stop it. This complains because I guess it's after the response. Blah, blah, blah. Try running the generator that will generate files. How do I run the generator? Dart run, build runner, build. Oh, wow. So there's yet one extra step. I'll be complaining a lot today, I guess. Okay. Now it doesn't complain that much. It just complains about not having missing documentation for public member. Is there an option to like no? How does one create documentation for that? Habit, history, entry. No? Okay, better. Use end of line form for doc comments. Okay. Now it's happy. And the same thing needs to be here. Yay. Wow, everything needs to have documentation because it's a public member. Holy moly. When was the entry created or logged? And optional notes. Let's make this string nullable. How about that? Therefore, we can say that it's null. This will be an interesting thing. Redundant initialization to null. Try removing the initializer. Okay, so we can do that. It's nullable. It's happy, right? Yeah. Okay. All right. And to JSON, make serializable. There we go. And now this compliance because there's no new line at the end. Wow, this is like really, really Nazi linter. That's for sure. But okay, at least we learned about those. So this should be our history entry. So we should be able to create new model, and this will be our habit.dart, our just overall main thing. So everywhere we have habit history entry, it will be just habit. And there we go. There we go. So for habit, we want to track when we created it, right? So when the habit was created, so that we don't provide data before that time. Then we have when was updated. We don't care about that really. On the backend here, who the hell cares when the thing was updated? I don't care, at least. What we need is a habit name. So it'll be string name, habit name. And that was it. Other than that, we can just fetch the entries. But I don't know if we really need to even specify it here. Required this dot name. So the thing is that this will basically force us to specify when it was created. Sure, let's have it like that, no big deal. And for that, for now, we can run this build again. And that's gonna do, and it's gonna make everything happy, okay? All right, okay, that's good enough. So in our routes, we could just pretend to send something back, right? So let's do something like, what was it? Dart frog. And we have build new route. And I guess we specify, and this will be what? Habit? Right? New habit. I will create just habit.dart, I guess. Yep. There we go. So in our case, we want to be able to host a new habit, put a habit to update its name, or get a habit, or get like specific habit or a bunch of habits. Okay, so maybe let's do something for now, just, normal get request for all the habits. So I guess this will be on request, and other than that, we could just make something like actual response that will return, like pass over, and this will be on get habits. Okay. We're gonna still pass on the request context. Okay, we're gonna just implement it here. So we can do something where we have our method, which will be context request method, right? But the method is type HTTP method, which just holds the value. So we need to do the value, right? And now switch over the method, and basically I think we can do return switch method case get. It will be I guess we don't even need to do this, right? Let me look up documentation how we were doing those switch statements, control flow, branches, switch expressions. Something is switch over what? Bam. Wait, it's the expression. The switch statements on its own. Okay, and switch expressions produce a value. So expression allows to rewrite switch statement like this with something like that. Bam, and we do something arrow what? Something arrow what? So we're pretty much close. So we do the get unnecessary use of double quotes. Yeah, the double quotes are like different than normal quotes, right? For some reason. So this will be basically get on get habits. We provide a context, and that's that. Wait, do we put a? No, we just put a comma at the end. Look at that. And then we're gonna have the other ones. Other than that, it will be just a response. And here we need to specify our own status code. What the hell was the status code of like bad request? Let's just do 400, right? And body will be unsupported method. That's it. Okay, great. So this way we can have them divided up where we have this will be just for getting habits, and the other ones will be somewhere around. We could probably split them into the lib and actual handlers or something. So those routes here, we can consider them to be controllers, right? In something like MVC, that will be a controller, and then actual handlers that, are kind of like services will be somewhere else. So yeah, this is fine. Not too bad. It's something that's easy to copy paste throughout the project and it'll be fine. So for getting the habits, let's just mock up some simple thing where we have, a list of 4 of the habits and we'll just return them. Although the server will expect probably, the client will expect that habits will also come with some additional data. I guess. So let's just pretend for now that we have a bunch of habits, right? So final habits will be just a list. We can even say this is a what? List of habit. Okay. And we need to import habit from somewhere. Import package. And what is it? Lib or oh, I hate this part. How was I supposed to import them? We had an example here, right? JSON serializable, whatever. Oh, I'm having trouble speaking now. And this is Dart language. No such method forwarding. No. No. Where's that example? Oh, here. Okay, so we have only the lib, and therefore everywhere we'll be importing stuff. Yeah, we just import from here. Great. How are we supposed to import stuff from here? Like part user gdart. That's for that. And then from here, package dart frog dart. How are we magically using user in here? I can't use habit in here. Voltage for local variable. The name habit isn't a type, so it can be used as type argument. What I define it as? It's a class. It's a type. What the heck? Okay, this pisses me off. Let's try a different approach. I want to see the Android Studio because I don't have enough experience to figure out those annotations and whatnot. Where is it open? We're going with habit tracker. How about you refresh? Backend. There we go. Open it. This window. How do I zoom it in? Can't. Great. Okay. Overall zoom. Sure, that'll be good enough. But now, editor font. Let's do 20. Apply. Okay, this will be good enough for stream, I hope. So we don't want to read me. I want to see here. Something like habit. Looks okay. Settings, go away. So what about our routes for habit? We have Dart support is not enabled for the module. Why not? There's issues. Dart fix. Go away. Okay, so the habit, whoa. It just says import library package habit tracker API models habit. Okay. All right. So that's how it works. We just do the name of our main package models. Okay. That makes sense. Okay. Why doesn't VS Code have that? Come on. So we have our list habit and unnecessary type annotation because reasons. But in our case, we want to create a bunch of new habits, right? So we're going to do a habit. And we basically need to provide created at, which will be, how do I create new date time? Date time, do we have like now? And name will be stream every day, right? That's our first habit that we want. And this compliance that it needs to be name. Okay, now complain that it should be single. Ugh. Okay. So we're gonna do 4 habits. I don't care about date times right now. We'll fix that later. So another would be what were the habits that we added before? Read and technical book for 30 minutes, right? Maybe work on a side project for 30 minutes. And lastly, something good for development would be I don't know. Go for a walk every day. There you go. Something to get some fresh air every day. Beautiful. So this will be our fake habits, right? And as a response, in theory, we could just send it, right? Will just a generic list have some kind of what do you call it, to JSON? Because we learned that in here response JSON and body, and we just provide data, right? So response.json. So I guess that's the named constructor. And body will be habits. How about that? What will we get when we call this? Oh, I'm I go back to VS Code. Why the hell not? Oh, expected this before this. Oh, right. I still have the old code here. So you old code go away. All right. It didn't restart yet, so that's that. Now it's good. So we can go here, we refresh. I mean, that's good. Oh, F6 gets you here. /habits. Oh, root not found. We cannot get our habits? Really? Oh, wait, habit. There we go. So we got the actual everything properly. All right, look at that. Beautiful. Nice. And each one was created, nearly each one was created a little bit later. I guess the clock isn't that accurate. But great. Okay, that part works. Beautiful. We'll leave it on hot reload and we'll see what bad things will come out of this. But okay, so we can get the habits in theory in that way. Later we can add, like, the habit can also include all the entries. So we should probably split it into having a model that will be like database habit or something. But now let's look into how we can set up the actual database. Because we had the routes, we don't care about middleware yet too much. Let's look at dependency injection, because we'll need to create a database connection as some kind of service, so we can inject it into our, handlers, and suddenly, like, oh, we have handled the database, and we can just do our stuff. Okay, middleware can be used to inject dependencies into a request context. Oh, I guess we need to look at middleware quickly. So middleware in Dart Frog allows you to execute code before and after a request is processed. Before and after. Okay, it's good that we can do something after. You can modify the inbound request and outbound responses, provide dependencies, and more. Okay, so we can modify responses as well. All right. In .frog, a piece of middleware consists of a middleware function exported from a middleware.dart file within a subdirectory of the routes folder. Oh, so instead routes will have something additional? What? There can only ever be one piece of middleware per route directory, with routes/middleware.dart being middleware that is executed for all inbound requests. Okay. I see. So basically we would have like a global one or something, and we can probably do something with the how we structure the routes to figure out what we're applying where. Okay, some kind like a little bit limiting, but I guess we can figure that out. That's I guess the limitations of going with file-based routing, right? Okay, so we have our middleware handler. So it returns a handler, okay? And it takes in a handler. Code middleware, return context async. So we're basically defining a function here, right? So we return a function. So handler is apparently just a function. Execute code before request is handled, then forward the request to the respective handler. Final response is await handler context. So we await this to complete, right? Whatever we got here, and we can just response is this: execute code after request is handled, and then return. Okay, all right. So this way, so this is considered next, right? This will be literally somewhere else will be called next rather than random handler. Forward the request, or is it? What the heck? Before request, after. Yeah, this is basically next. We can chain built-in middleware such as the request logger middleware via the use API. For example, we create routes underscore middleware.dart with the following contents. We will automatically log all requests to our server. So in that middleware dart, we just do this return handler use request logger. So this will be used, and calling this as a function will return a handler. So use some kind of function. How do we chain them? There's no chaining here. There's literally no chaining. Creating middleware. To create a new middleware on Dartfrog project, run the following command. Create new middleware for hello. Install and use whatever. Okay, this is weird. And then dependency injections are somehow middlewares. So middleware can be used to inject dependencies into request context via provider. So provider is a type of middleware that can create and provide an instance of type T to the request context. The create callback is called lazily, and injected request context can be used to perform additional lookups to access values provided upstream. So basics. In the following example, we'll use a provider to inject a string into our request context. So, okay, handler, middleware, handler, whatever. 3 times the same word. So handler use provider of string, and it's this. It's just gonna return the thing. All right, so that could be our service provider of, let's say, database, right? And we have a function that returns us the database. We can later access the provider value from within a root handler using context read. So it will be context read, and we want a string. Okay, so this is literally by type. You say what type you want, and therefore you can have only one thing per type. We couldn't have two providers of a string, and that's that. So extracting providers. In the above example, we define the provider inline. This is fine for simple cases, but for more complex providers or providers which you want to reuse, it can be helpful to extract the provider to its own file. So middleware. Okay, we straight up to return middleware. Greeting provider. Return provider string, which will be this. Then we can import and use the provider in one or more middleware. So we have some middleware and use getting provider, and that should return middleware. Oh, so use can also accept a middleware besides just a handler. This thing is so confusing. Providing asynchronous values. A provider can also be used to inject asynchronous values. We just need to change the generic type to future. It's provider future string. Okay, we can then use the provider in one or more middleware just as before, right? Okay, so we could make the database service as a future of the database, right? Therefore, we just await it whenever we use it in our code, right? So we await context.read future of database. It's ugly, but I guess it works. When accessing a future via context read, be sure to specify the future as the generic type and await as the result. Or you can create a custom extension if you prefer. Read async, right? Read async, type expect, and it will just do the thing for us, wrap it automatically. With the above extension, you can access the provided feature like read async and bam. Sure. Now it lazy initialization. By default, provider creates the provided value only when it's accessed. Okay, great. For example, given the following middleware. Okay. If we have a root handler that never invokes the thing, our value will never be created, and create is never logged. Beautiful, that's very good. We have caching. By default, the provided value will be created when it's accessed. This means that each time you read a value, the context read, the associated create method will be invoked. As a result, you might wish to cache a provided value so that it isn't unnecessarily recreated on each read. So that would be good for our database service. We won't just want to exist in our project. We don't care about any pooling here. That's what the database, I guess, will do for us. So we can do this quite easily by defining a provide value, which we use to reference the provided value once it's created. So we have string greeting. Oh, we just we just hold it here. Why not? Cached greeting provider. So we return greeting. It doesn't exist. Just use hello world as a new value. That's it. The cache greeting is private so that it can only be accessed within the context of this provider. That's so funny. This pattern can also be applied to async providers. Yep. Great. Okay. Wow, such caching. Order matters. In real life application, you will find yourself adding multiple providers to your project. Some providers will depend on others, as with any application relying on dependency injection. Let's take example of car that depends on wheel. We will have two providers where the second one depends on the first one. Also need to resolve it ourselves. So isn't dependency injection supposed to resolve that for you? Come on. A first provider called wheel middleware provider creates the wheel object. So it's still confusing. So we have this provider, which is middleware, wheel middleware provider, right? Return provider wheel. Great. It just does itself. Second provider called car middleware that provides a car object. And when creating a car, we need to have a wheel, right? So car middleware provider, return provider, context car. And okay, so from within here, we can actually access the context to get the wheel. All right, that makes sense. All right. At this point, it seems clear that the car middleware provider depends on. So you have to build the tree yourself, apparently. So we can do this and that. Here's what will happen. Dartfrog will create. Okay, whatever. Oh, look at that. We have finally an example of how to do it. So if provider B depends on provider A, you will have to declare them as followed. Return handler use B dot use A. So you need to register them here in an inverse order. An example we gave at the beginning where car middleware provider depends on wheel provider. We know it will work when we provided them like so. So handler middleware. So we do car middleware that depends on wheel middleware. Oof. Okay. But if we change the order, the providers won't work. Okay. Right now, there's an issue about fix, improve dependency injection order, because some other DI frameworks are working top to bottom and Dartfrog is bottom top. So you might want to keep that in mind for future releases. How about you make a one where it just resolves itself? Come on. I'll be right back. And I am back. All right. Okay, so before we delve into this dependency injection, we have an idea of what it does, how it might work. So in that case, let's just look at how we can integrate SurrealDB into the project in the first place, right? So let's do Dart SurrealDB. What we'll get? A package, right? This one, published 2 months ago. Okay. All right, but we can just go here and search for SurrealDB, because I recall that there were more than one. The question is why and how do they differ? So Dart 3 compatible. Tons of them are compatible. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. We don't care about WASM, Node.js, and the rest is nothing SurrealDB. So we have basically Query Builder, which is interesting. We have client, Dart, and just SurrealDB. Let's compare them and let's see what's happening. So we have this one, like the main one, right? So published 2 months ago for Dart and Flutter. This is Dart client library for integrating with SurrealDB, a highly scalable, distributed, and real-time database. So this library enables developers to connect to SurrealDB instances, execute queries, authenticate users, and interact with database resources via WebSocket communication. Okay, so what's WebSockets? And I presume it's gonna be like JSON/HTTP in the backend, because that's the easiest way. Connect, disconnect, establish close connection, authentication, interaction of namespaces and stuff. Great. Live queries, great. Customizable options, set connection options. Great. So we just install it this way. Great. Connecting. So what do we do? DB is new, SurrealDB. We specify the link, whatever URL, even throw in authentication token if you need to, and then connect and wait for a connection to be established. Then switch to a specific namespace and stuff, or possibly log in, I guess. I mean, there's like no authentication here other than like token. And yeah, you can run the queries. That's it. And remember to close the connection when done. Okay, so that's that. Authentication, we can do DB sign up, right? Or sign in our case. This one is like a namespace and database user. With access support, gray, token, middleware. SurrealDB Flutter client supports middleware that allows to. Okay, so this is like purely Flutter stuff, right? We don't care about that. DB add middleware. Method params next. Do something before the request. Execute. What? db.add middleware. Okay, don't get that. Token refresh, don't care. Basic queries, yeah, create records, read records, all that stuff. So that's great. Okay, I mean, this looks good. This looks good. I like that. Let's just take a peek at the other 2.5. So SurrealDB Dart 2.0, older library. The FlutterDB package is a powerful integration for Flutter. Okay. In order to start using SurrealDB, you must have the Flutter SDK installed. Oh, so that's not it. We don't want anything with Flutter. So this one goes away. Done. And then we have a random client. Wow, 2 years ago. So this is gonna be, features connect. So it just supports some of the basic stuff. Add types to outputs, provide streams for client events. Excuse me. So this is like more of an old incomplete package from before SurrealDB 2.0 was released. So this was a bad idea. And then we have Query Builder, again, over 2 years old. So no thank you. Okay, so this is our only choice. All right, so we're gonna throw that dependency. Right now we hit a version, what? 1.1.1. So let's do, we want 1.1.1 at least, okay? Save it, it runs Dart gut pub, great. So now how do we use it? So we would need to create a kind of service or something, right? Because we want to reuse that connection. We don't want to connect every time we start a project. Yeah. So let's see. Do we connect, wait, and all that stuff. So we would need to already create some kind of middleware or something. I guess so. So I know we're doing this. Where is it? Wheel. It's a middleware. Where do we even put it? In the library? In a lib folder? Maybe. Let's try that. Lib, new folder will be services. Okay. And we're gonna create new file, which will be SurrealDB service. I'll just SurrealDB.dart. How about that? So you can paste this. We'll hold a reference to it. It will be the underscore DB. And it can be null. Right? And that's it. It is null by default. And not final. This will be lazy final. Not really, because I want to manage manually. So I don't want the final. I just want it to be variable. Okay. Variable to be. Expect to find this. Oh, because we can't specify that. So that will be whatever, SurrealDB question mark. Don't know how that's gonna work yet. Middleware will be database provider for now. Provides the SurrealDB instance, I guess. Whatever. Malware and whatnot, so everything is unhappy. We have habit and habit history, and oh, these are the models. Where's the routes? Because it sounds like we need to do this thing with the dart frog. When we do this, Sunland middleware is happy. Okay, so that's progress. And we also need our SurrealDB imported, right? And that makes this one happy. There we go. So our database provider, return provider of SurrealDB, I guess, and how we want to create it. So this will be the context, and we're not depending on anything else in theory for now. And later, I believe we could just make like a config as a provider, so we could depend on that. But for now, will be that, and we won't be just returning that. There were better examples here on dealing with something where, oh, maybe we want to cache it, right? Caching. Where we're doing this thing, or for async, right? So we have string something, greeting, great, we have that. So let's just copy this for now. Whoa. And we'll figure it out. So return provider, in this case, with feature of SurrealDB. We'll put in context, which we don't care about right now, async, and we do stuff here. So I would kind of like to break it down so it's a little bit more readable. Okay. And in this case, it will be either we return the DB, unless it's null, then we're gonna set it as create a new instance and whatever. So in this case, I will just call it something like whatever. Create and connect, right? And hopefully that will be it. So can I define something that will return future SurrealDB, which will be create and connect async. Okay. This isn't happy. Return type object isn't returnable from future SurrealDB function as required by the closures context. Return new SurrealDB. No, this just doesn't want to work. Why is that? Redundant nationalization to null. Okay, great. Now we don't have the middleware anymore. Suddenly it's not it. Using a prefix for one or more reporter, blah, blah, blah. What the heck? Why doesn't middleware work now? Let me just see this first. We'll start building. So the way it works, we create the connection, we connect, wait for the connection, switch to the stuff, and then close it. So let's just try to do that. We'll paste it all here. So we have our DB, right? We're gonna create it. For now, sure, connecting here is fine. What is the real IP that I should connect to? Let's do this one. It'll be java.lan. Port will be 14831. There we go. /rpc. And no such thing as token. Okay. So this will create our SurrealDB. Then we're going to connect. Unnecessary duplication of receiver. Try using cascade to avoid duplication. Okay, so you basically want me to do connect, right? That's what they want to do. Great, we can do that. Simple enough. And then we want to await for the connection. Okay, that's simple. Use specific namespace and database. So namespace, we're gonna call it habit, and database will be dev1, whatever. Just dev for development. There we go. Fetch version information. We don't care about that at all in here. And we're not closing it yet. Basically, if we go to that point, we can say db is db and return db. So that we actually return that SurrealDB object. So that would be the overall creation. But for some reason, this is really unhappy here. So why? Async, we have this thing. The return type object isn't returnable from a future SurrealDB function. We shouldn't have to await it here, in my opinion, but that's gonna fix it. I guess that's that. We're already saving here, so we don't need that equals. Basically, if this is empty, run this one and return that one instead. Okay? It's that simple. And therefore, we have our thing here going. This is unhappy because missing required trailing comma. Oh, so we need to require it. Seriously? Okay. But now this isn't happy. The name middleware is defined in the libraries package dot blah blah and package SurrealDB dart. Oh. Ay. That's unexpected. So it will be. How can we prefix it? Using it as prefix for one import directive. Okay, so as frog. Oh. So we do frog.middleware. There we go. And here will be frog.provider. There we go. And we can use our SurrealDB stuff here directly. This one is missing documentation. Yeah. Creates a new SurrealDB instance and connects to it. Okay. Done. So other than just connect, we should also actually, here we're switching to stuff, right? But do we have other option on SurrealDB? We have token, we have options. And what is the options thing? Options. And SurrealDB options. And what do we have? Duration, timeout duration, and that's it. So we don't need the options. Wow, okay. So we connect to it, but I also want to sign in, right? So authentication, signing in. Sign in as an existing user. We do await sign in and whatnot. We don't care about token. That's pointless in our case. So after we wait for the connection, we'll await sign in. We know that we won't be using this. So sign in allows for user, password, namespace, database, and access. I'm gonna straight up hard code it with the data for this little local temp thing. Then we can switch it to something else. So we'll just use some kind of user that I have predefined and some random password that I have predefined. There we go. And namespace we decided on habit and database to be dev, and therefore we shouldn't have to switch to it as far as I understand. Yeah. Yeah, let's try that. We'll see how that goes. So for now, we have the provider set up. Now, how on earth do we use it? I mean, in our routes, we would need to create some kind of middleware, right? I guess. The documentation on that is kind of lackluster, in my opinion. They're trying to explain something, but they're failing at it, at least in my opinion. So .frog, a piece of middleware, consists of middleware function exported from middleware Dart file within a subdirectory of the routes folder. Within a subdirectory of the routes folder. So the routes folder, and then we create some kind of subdirectory, which has middleware Dart in there? What? What does it mean? There can only ever be one piece of middleware per route directly within routes middleware Dart. So now they're saying there's routes folder, which directly has the middleware. There's no subdirectories. Being middleware that is executed for all inbound requests. So there's only one for that, and that's fine. To create new middleware on a Dart Frog project, do this. So we can just create a new middleware for whatever. So let's actually do something like this. I'm gonna try something out. So let's do /API, right? Middleware for all the API stuff. Gonna create that. So it created a new directory API. And I believe we can just throw our habit into the API and that will just magically make it work. It should have at least it's supposed to. That's the whole idea, right? So here our middleware is like, hey, implement the middleware and return the handler. Sure. So now we can go back to dependency injection and we can see that we can use some kind of provider. In our case, we would just, providing asynchronous values and use that kind of provider. There we go. That's all we need, I guess. Can we do this? Return, use, and this will be, what was it? Database provider, okay? And in our case, we need to import package, and it was what? Habit tracker services SurrealDB.dart. And suddenly we have the database provider, which returns feature or response. What? Whatever. I mean, that might work, right? So let's see if within our habit in the context, we can actually read it. So we have our habits and we're gonna do here something like context dot read, and we want to specify what future of SurrealDB, right? That means our thing here, we need this. So in theory, it would be nice to actually create, instead of just directly using that here, as a provider. It will be nice to create repositories and do stuff, but we'll make it simple for now. We'll just get away with just doing this. Okay, we've got a SurrealDB here, so we can kind of request that. Okay, so it will be the final DB is await this thing. So that means we need to make it async. I hope we can. Oh no. Async. Future. And let's do this. Okay. Maybe that's gonna work. So we've got our DB in theory. And DB dot options token. Okay, do query. And this will be just a normal query. So return hello. I want that to be my query. And what does it return? It needs to be awaitable. So it'll be final query result. Okay. And query result in this case, it's just an object. So how do they go about working with that? Because for connecting, they just await the DB version, which we don't care about. We want the actual basic queries: read records, update records, delete live queries. How about actual generic query? Because if I'm gonna do, okay, so this, okay, so read records. To retrieve record, you can use the select method, right? Select posts, and fetch posts, it will just do something. There's no type information. You can also use queries to filter or manipulate the data. So query, select from there and there. And we provide a title to be my first post. And print find matching criteria. So let's just literally print whatever we received. So we print what is it? Database query result. And that's gonna be the query result, right? And that's it. Now this is unhappy. Don't invoke print in production code. FU. Okay. I want to see if it works. Big time. Let's see what kind of errors we get when we start it. Okay, no errors yet, so that's progress. What happens if I try to refresh it? Oh, that's right. We need to do API/habit. Okay, internal server error. What do we get here? Error with something. Get API habit. Error thrown by handler. Code something. Message. There was a problem with the database. There was a problem with authentication. Okay, so that tells me that we probably, because I have that user defined when starting a, so, you know, where is it? So I'm going to throw in here in the backend a new file, which will be surrealdb.docker.compose.yaml. Okay. And this is the Docker Compose. We just create a new SurrealDB, container name, whatever. So it'll be streaming, whatever. Doesn't matter. We start a Surreal. And oh, and I started without that part. Oops. Let me actually start it because I had to comment it out, I guess, for the first time, so I'm not passing it every time. Update the stack. Let's see what happens. And I don't think I have Surrealist installed. That's another thing that we need to fix. SurrealDB, Surrealist. Okay. We have download for Linux. We have app image option. But I wonder if we can just do yay Surrealist. There you go. Version 3.50. That sounds relatively recent. So let's see if it works. Okay, we've got a Surrealist. Let's move it maybe here. Zoom it in. We should be able to zoom it in, right? Come on. I agree. View. Zoom in. Zoom in. Zoom in. Oh, I can't zoom in more. Oh, well. So create connection, and I should be able to create connection to Java.lan. Right, connection name. It will be Java habit tracker. There we go. Java.lan, and IP was, the port was 14831. Unhappy. Authentication, I guess we need to throw in. What's this? Surrealist is unable to connect. Huh. Okay, that's new. Can I do this? Ah, there we go, because it's not over HTTPS. Okay, so that's great. It can connect. Now I guess I need to have that username, because in SurrealDB, like when we look at our code here, when connecting to the server, you can have multiple ways to create a user. You can create like a global user for entire database that the user can manage the namespaces and databases within those namespaces, right? So that'll be that. Then you can, instead of having user that can manage everything, you can create a user that is tied to a namespace. Therefore, the user can manage the databases within that namespace. Or you can have a very specific user just for a specific database, so they can't go outside of their database. They can go to a different database in the namespace or outside of that. So I presume that if I'm creating, if I'm doing this, I'm creating a user that spans entire database. So if I'm gonna go to here, it'll be a root user, not namespace, not database. It'll be a root user. So we need just username and password. So let me just look those up again, wherever that was. So the user should be this, and this should be that, right? Create connection. Okay, looks like we're connected. Look at that. So we can go to our authentication tab, and we have the system user or root authentication. But we want something that's specifically for our database. So we can create a namespace that was habit, because we'll use that, and database, which will be dev. Okay. And now we can create the user specifically for that database. So this will be, name will be whatever, habit developer, right? Or habit local. Sure. We'll call that way. So in our code, we are going to go and already put it here. Where is it? Have so many things open. Password. I don't know. Let's just do this thing, but reshuffle it. We'll do Instead of outhouse lucrative, it'll be lucrative outhouse. There actually is something like a lucrative outhouse here and there. So owner, editor, viewer, sure, it can do everything for all the data. So let's copy this, create a user. So we have the user created just for the database. Therefore, we can do this, and it will be already specified for namespace and database. So now when we close it and start again, don't know if that's necessary, but I just did that. And go to here, refresh. There we go, it worked. Now we logged in. And we have database query result, which is a list that has one result because there was one query. We have how long it took, what's the status, and the actual result in this case, it should be a string. So I just want to make sure that I'm properly handling that in our habit root. So notice that our query result is just an object. It's like, oh, something. So what we could do is literally do try and put all that in here. Okay, so that we can handle our errors. So if our query result, now we want the, we can actually do it as a list of object. Okay. Don't cast nullable value as non-nullable. Try adding non-null assertion. Exclamation mark here. Where was the non-null assertion? Do I need to wrap it first and then do exclamation? Yeah, so it's a little bit like in TypeScript. So that's good. All right. So we should have that as in query result. Final, it will be the result will be basically the query result, the first element, right? Because there should be one entry, and that should give us result isn't used. It's just an object. But we want to do it as, how can we extract it? Because we could do in theory just, hey, this is dynamic or whatever. Yeah, that's the thing. I'm not sure how to deal with that in Dart. Because in theory, it's a little bit like JSON, but not really. I could, in theory, do kind of like dynamic. I kind of can. Dot. And now I would do, what the hell was in there? Result. Hello or something, right? As string. And this, in theory, is a string now. Like magically. And then I could just say the result. Let's see if that works first. Save it. And we'll just refresh here. Okay, it didn't crash. And in here we have database query result. I guess it didn't hot reload because we still got this. Come on. Yeah. Oh, because we have an error. Catch, I don't know, something, and we'll just say print. I don't know, throw. Can we catch error or something? Rethrow. There we go. We don't even need to catch it. Catch must be followed by an identifier or identifier. There we go. We'll ignore it completely and just rethrow it. This way we can do stuff. It shows that the hot reloaded. So let's see if it actually did. Error. List dynamic is not a subtype of type list object in typecast. Okay. So we basically cannot make it into dynamic randomly. I wonder if we can create some kind of type, because SurrealDB seems to just return, hey, this is a, an optional object, and that's it. If we're in our SurrealDB Dart, can we also like temporarily, or maybe somewhere else, let's do not services, not models, let's just do create new folder, and this will be DB. Okay, I'm just gonna throw everything related to the database here, and let's do something like not models, but types.dart. Okay, and I want to define some kind of type that we can reuse as, to do stuff. So let's do a class. We'll call it query result. Okay. And the query result, wait, I need to do it like this, right? Query result class. No, the other way around. Class query result, right? And should it be type definition? What the hell? Which one is supposed to be? I forgot. There was this way to kind of, you can go away. We don't need Surrealist not right now. We have branches, types, built-in types, records, collections, or type defs. There we go. So we could, in theory, just make a type definition, like a query result, which is a type def, and a type def will be simply be So now how do we want to call it? Because whenever we query the SurrealDB, we are simply, and we have stuff from Taras. Sorry, I missed, I had a different tab open. Hey Taras, I use Shell for server framework and SQLite for database. Line 27, object arrow dynamic. I haven't seen that syntax with an arrow. Interesting. But I'm gonna try to do a little bit more type safe way. Because whenever we get a query from the database, it literally returns a list of queries, because whenever we send a query, we can, in theory, send several ones. And for each one of them, we'll have an entry on a list. So we could make it that, a query result is this whole thing, or that this is the query result. So I would kind of like to make query results, plural, and that'll be a list of query result of type T. Okay, I don't know if we can do that. Type def query result, which is, how do I define an object with those like entries? Because right now it said this is an object with this, that, and that. Can I just randomly do that? Oops. Control C doesn't copy. Forgot about that. So I want this to be that and this and that. How do we define? Because this is like a generic map. I don't want just a map. I want straight up as if it was a class, but not really. And Tara says, you had an error that you tried to cast dynamic to object. Yes, I was trying to cast dynamic to object. Substitute object to dynamic. I mean, at some point I wanted to extract stuff, right? I wanted to do, where was it? Here. I have this query results that's basically a list of objects, like anything. And then as a result, I wanted to get this object as dynamic so I can extract this random result out of it. And I know that this is a string, so I wanted to convert it back to a string. But it didn't like it. And Tess says, I'm thinking about records. Okay, so we want to define it as a record. Hopefully that's going to be compatible with whatever was there. So can I just do, how was definitions of records? Integer, whatever, but we need named ones, right? So it'll be this. Okay, so we'll have an object result. Okay. Then we're gonna have status, which I guess is string. I guess. Let's just do this. Capital. There we go. And time will be again, I guess, string time. And that's what I'm expecting it to be. Although this could be nullable as well. And now this is unhappy because list of type T, right? So I would want to make it type T. So can I just do this? Yes, I can. And there we go. Query result. Whoa. There we go. And new line. These just don't have documentation, so they're upset, but maybe that's okay in here. So in theory, I could try to import those types. So that would be import package habit tracker API DB types. Okay. And from here, we're going to say that our query result is, we're not doing, yeah, this thing is as query results of type where we expect the value to be a string. Okay. And line exceeds 80 character limit. Seriously. This is like the worst Nazi linter ever. And that says should be list dynamic instead of list of object when I had somewhere there. Okay, I mean, I knew it was list of objects, but I still wanted it to be an object at that point. Let's just see if this works. If not, I'll need to result to this ugly dynamic again. So with the query results, the actual results should be, because I'm just asserting that this is not null, which for now is fine. So we're gonna say it will be the query result 0, the first element, dot result, which should be the string. Okay, so this should be an optional string. And now I should be able to just print it. Let's see. No build problems. Refresh. We still have internal server error. Okay, error thrown by handler. The list dynamic is not subtype of this in typecast. Okay, so it is a list dynamic. Oh no. So if it's a list of dynamic, why wasn't it saying that it's a list of object? What? This does not make any sense. Let's copy it. Let's just comment this out and start over. So we have query result. We await our query, okay? And if we're gonna await our query and just save it to query result, it was showing as an optional object. We were able to cast it to a list of objects. It didn't have a problem with that, right? We were able to cast it as list of object. Okay. It was happy with that. It actually ran at some point, I think. Let's just say that we're just gonna do okay. I want to see if this runs. Come on, refresh. No, it doesn't. So it says list dynamic is not subtype of list object. So it's just list of dynamic, which is real ugly. How can I turn dynamic into this? Into record? That's the question. So I was happy with list dynamic, not list object. Okay, I see. So how can I convert it into this actual thing? Do I need to like manually create it? You can cast dynamic directly. So I would need to do this, right? A list of dynamic and then final, let's say, single result will be query result number 0. Oh, just not list dynamic as a whole. So I will need to take the first query result, like first the element, which is just dynamic, as, and here I would do query result. Possibly. And that has a remote of chance of working. Refresh? No. Map string dynamic is not. Okay, so this is like implemented as a map. Ugh. Okay, so behind the scenes, it's a map. All right. Okay. So I could either destructure it or just screw that and just do something else. So in theory, I could just make a class that allows me to extract some stuff that uses that map as a backing thing. Okay, I want to do that because I want to have like a nice way to interact with that. So let's say that I will just define a class query result plural of type T. So in this case, I would say it's a final class. Final base class. There we go. We can't do both. So whatever, final class of query results. And it's gonna be basically a backend field. Whatever. So let's do list of dynamic will be the data. Okay, that's where we're gonna hold it. So we want to create it, and it will be query results. This, data, which will be whatever, list dynamic should be data, and that will be data is data, right? There we go. It's unhappy about no documentation, but that's it. So we can set it here, and then we're gonna add some things to extract it. And Taras is saying, what I usually do is define a factory constructor, which takes dynamic and returns what I need. Okay. So in my case, what I'm thinking about is that instead of me to trying to extract, because where is it? Because most of the time, whenever it returns a result, right? We get, where did it go? Don't we have it that displayed somewhere? Phone database, we got through that eventually. Okay, so it returns something like this, right? A list of queries. So it's a list, so that's fine, but each entry has a result, status, and time. Most of the time, nobody will be checking the time, right? I don't care about that string. Then I have result hello and result and status. So do I want to really every time throw in that thing? What if I just make a class that holds a reference to this map and just allows me to either check the status or check the result? And that's it. That's what I'm thinking about. This one can go away. This one, I don't care about that. Middleware goes away. Index goes away. Types. So this way I will have the backend field for data, right? I can then do something like extension. And this will be extension surreal result helpers on list dynamic. There we go. So we're just gonna call it whatever. It's gonna return query results of type T. And the thing will be what? 2 typed. There we go. Or like 2 query results for now. So 2 query results, and that's gonna take in this list dynamic. We don't need to provide anything else. I just need to specify that this needs a type. And what it's gonna do is just, I can probably just straight up do an arrow function here, because it will be new query results, the data, we need to provide it of type T, right? Not data, this. Doesn't like it. Class query results doesn't have an unnamed constructor. How so? I have an unnamed constructor here. What? T? And we're not shoving that T anywhere? How do I make generic constructors? Ay, ay, ay. Because the constructors for classes was horrible. Generative constructors, I mean, we don't have anything like with generic, right? Nothing with generic. Was there types, generics? Parameterization with constructors. To specify one or more types, when using a constructor, put the types in angle brackets just after the class name. Yeah. The line call creates this. So, okay. But yeah. So I need to explicitly use name constructors only? Is that what it is? Let's say internal, right? Let's call it internal, and I'll do this. Wait, not this. Still not. Query results doesn't have a constructor named internal. What? I straight up defined it here. This is the weirdest thing ever. And we don't have an example anywhere. I guess we need to resort to Claude. Oh wait, because this is confusing it? Oh, that was confusing it. That's the only thing because I had type definition. So that means I can probably just do this, right? Okay, that's fine now. All right. All right. Great. So we have that part. So query results is somewhat done. And now the idea is that I can extract a specific query result. So I could, in theory, override the right? And it's gonna be the we're gonna return the object, wait, query result of type T as in what it's gonna be. Operator. And this, and I should be able to just, all this probably takes integer index. I'm kind of making a retrieval list or something. And this is unhappy because doesn't override inherited method. Try updating this class to match superclass. Oh, because we're not overriding it. We're just specifying it, something that didn't exist yet. So we're gonna pretty much do the so we know that it's gonna be mapped behind the scenes. So we're gonna do something like what it's gonna do is the data we retrieve from the index. So that will be our map. And we'll be able to do something like dot to query result of type T. And that's it. Right now it doesn't make any sense because the query result doesn't exist, but that's what we're gonna fix in a second. Final class query result of type T. So that will hold a map of, what was the type? We saw it recently. Map string dynamic. I don't know why map has underscore in front of it, but maybe we can ignore that part. Hopefully. So we'll have map string dynamic, which will be the data again. And then we're gonna have query result, which takes that map as data, or maybe just straight up dynamic as data, and what it does, so it's data is data as this thing. Maybe that's gonna be enough, right? So what I need to do is probably not even do to query result, that doesn't matter. I would just straight up do query result type T bam, bam. And it doesn't like it. The query result must have method body because query result isn't abstract. Oh, right. Where did that go? Okay, so that's good. It just doesn't have documentation. This way we can extract the specific query result. And I would also do something like query result t, which will be first. And that will simply return the what? This 0. There you go. And lastly, I would want to have like a length or something. So let's do queries. Wait, integer. So we get length. That's how we made getters, right? And that should return simply data.length. There we go. So we can count how many, get those, and something like filtering for, hey, give me only the succeeded ones or count errors or whatever, because you can implement those in the future. Doesn't matter right now. We can do that. We can get our query result. And the main thing here is that okay, so something like this, I will just accept it that, hey, this might be, you might be requesting something that doesn't exist. That's why we have the length. And therefore, we always assume that type T is there. If your query could return something non-existent, then, it's up to you. So what we're doing here, when we create a query result, we just give it the map. We specify that the expected type is that something. But now we should be able to do something like get the time out of there. So let's say it'll be string get time. And that should simply extract it from the data, right? So we would be able to do, wait, not in here. What am I doing? Result here. So we should be able to do something like, hey, get time. It'll be data. We extract it from the time and as string. Okay, that should give us the time. Another thing is that we should be able to extract if it's okay or not. So it'll be string get is okay, right? And this will be status as string. So that will be just status. How about get status? And then we can just provide additional one, which will be is okay or not. So boolean get is okay, which will be what? This status is okay. All right. I guess I don't need to write this. There we go. And so this way we can check that, and then we have the type T get result, and that will be basically data result, and we just try to cast it to that type T, which is, I guess, is going to be problematic because different types might not map to what SurrealDB, between Dart and SurrealDB. We'll see how it goes as the time goes, but this is all read-only, and hopefully this is gonna be good enough. So let's see if we can actually use it, because I just put a lot of time into this very specific weird scenario. So let's try. So the single result, instead of doing this as query result, we should be able to do run this as list dynamic, right? Looks like we actually have to cast it to a list of dynamic. Ah, and only then we can go and say that it will be 2 query results, right? In theory. It's unhappy because it isn't defined. Really? Now it is. The type we are expecting to hold a string. Okay, there we go. We have our query results. And single results would be the query results first. Okay, there we go. Beautiful. So now, if single result is okay, which isn't happy about it, getter is okay isn't defined for the type query result string function. Try importing the library. Okay. Query result of string is okay is not defined. What? I just defined it. Here. On a query result. And that shouldn't be a function, it's just a getter. Weird. Query result of type string as a function. Oh, first is a function here? Oh, that's what it is. So let's do get first, and that will return it. There we go. So it's going to be a property. There we go. So if it's okay, then we're going to say print result is okay. And then we're going to just plop it here. So we're going to do single result dot result. Okay. Otherwise, we're just going to say result was not okay. So we'll be able to change the query and see how it goes. Okay. So I have this thing, whatever it doesn't like, double quotes. Here we go. Happy. There we go. All right. So we don't need this. This starts to look a little bit more decent. This complains about character limit. Oh, well. Always complains about something. We'll see if we can get rid of this dynamic in the future. So yeah, let's see what that does. It compiles, which is not surprising. Okay, we got success. Result is okay, and we extracted the value hello. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. So what if we're gonna instead send value 1 to 3, right, from the database? It should be now like, hey, this is error, right? Because now it will say that, hey, integer is not a subtype of type string. So the only thing that we should change is literally that, hey, we are expecting the result of that query to be what? Integer. So I already spotted a problem. Because right now, notice that when I do 2 query results, I'm expecting all the results to be specific type. What should happen instead is that when I'm getting a single query result, only then I should be trying to assume what the type is, right? Because most of the time, if you're going to send several queries to the database, each one of them will have different type. So what we should do instead is something like the query result, and instead of doing first, we would just need to do like get first or something. How can we do that? Let me see something first. when we have our types, is it possible? Because I know that we already support to create a query result with whatever type we want. Is it possible to make a generic variant of this thing? Missing documentation. These parameters aren't allowed when defining an operator. Try removing the type parameters. Oh, okay, so we can't do that. Oh no. So we would just need to specify, like, you know, get result or something instead. So instead of having operator, I mean, if we would do operator, we would return a dynamic, right? Query result of dynamic of that specific data, because we need to remove this from here. Query result, list dynamic data. Yes, that's good. That's good. We're gonna specify that we're gonna return. If we're gonna do something like that, we're just straight up, hey, you're gonna get dynamic. So that's that. But if we don't want to get dynamic, we actually want to get type ones. Correct query result of type T, we should do get result, or like we shouldn't do it like get result, because it should be get query result. For now, we're just gonna make it big text, right? And it'll be integer will be index, right? And that will be simply the same thing as here. The only difference is that we're gonna try to return as type T. Therefore, we're gonna skip this whole first part or something, or maybe query result type T, which will be get first. And yeah, sure. Let's just do that. And it's gonna be get query result as the number 0, and that's all. Beautiful. Okay. And of type T. Alrighty. And now this is unhappy because we tried to do this. It just shouldn't have the type. Beautiful. So we save it and we can fix that up. So we can get our query results. We just don't specify the type. And when we get first, then we specify that we are expecting integer. And that should provide us with a little bit nicer, a little bit nicer API to work with. Refresh, and it worked. We got the 1, 2, 3 as an integer. Okay, all right. All right, this is starting to work, so that's great. The only thing is that I have this whole list dynamic. Can I just skip this part and just do this? And now it's not happy because, oh, this is not an object. But that's what query returns, right? Optional object. Nullable object. So I wonder if we can actually specify additional results helpers, right? The bad part is that we need to have this entire extension name. So real result helpers dynamic list. Ew, disgusting. But what if we're gonna do this? So result helpers object. In theory, we'll be able to call it on any objects to query results. And what we're gonna do here is we're gonna take this as list of dynamic. I'm gonna cast it to that. Dot query results. Or let's just do this instead. It's gonna be a little bit more readable. There we go. So this needs to be on object. And we're done. So now this will work. Hey, the query results and we're good. This complains about double quotes, of course. And it should still work. So we refresh. There we go. Okay, we're starting to get really decent API. So the last thing is that most of the time, I wouldn't expect to, you know what, let's get it as the list of query results, and then we're gonna get the first one. I just want to get the first query results straight away, and that's it. So I'm gonna add yet another extension method. We'll see how it works in practice once we make everything. So let's add one more extension method. Extensions will be surreal result extractions, whatever, on object. All right, just on a pure object. And what we're going to do here, we expect to get query result, simple query result of type T, which will be extract result, or like extract query. Sure. Of type T, and we just give it an integer index. And what it's going to do is do a bunch of stuff for us. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this to query results dot get query result. We provide the index but of type T. Okay. This is not the prettiest. This is absolutely not the prettiest, but what it does is that, you know, it just works. The bad part would be like, you know what, we're gonna extract 1, 2, and 3. Because then we'll be creating those objects in the middle several times, which is not nice. But other than that, it could get the job done, right? So instead of going through this whole intermediate process, we can just say, hey, final query result is DB query, you know, awaited 1 to 3, whatever, dot extract query, and we want the first one, and we know that it's supposed to be integer, right? And we can skip this whole part entirely. And then basically, depending on that query result, we do stuff. And Tara says, maybe instead define extension methods directly on DB to save on chain calls and also not to pollute object with all that extension methods. So maybe define it on a DB. I mean, that's actually a good idea. It's just, I would need to change the overall query. I would need to put my own version of query. How complex is query? It takes vars and that. I don't know. And Saudi Gamers, thank you for subscribing. I mean, before I sometimes in JavaScript did where, hey, DB single query, right? Where I will give it one thing and I expect one thing because most of the time we do that. So in theory, it could work like that. But that means that I would need to do a bunch of other stuff. Because we have the select, but select kind of expects us to straight up just provide the name of something and that's it, right? If I would do await db.select. So select just wants us to specify a thing. And I don't want to do that because I'm not retrieving a single thing. So in theory, we could add a single query, right? So let's try that. Extension, surreal queries on object. Hmm. And then I would still need to return the query result, I guess. Yeah. So what would be here is something that returns a query result of type T. And this will be single query. And we can probably copy from here somewhere. What was it? Normal query. Can I like open it up? Yes. Future object query. So we've got this thing. There we go. So this is our single query. The body might complete normally, causing null to return. Oh yeah, because we don't have anything yet. Okay, so that would then need to do this entire chain for us. The only thing is that we might not get a result at all. So that's yet another thing that we need to kind of handle straight away. So we'll basically await for the query, assume this, and do that. So let's see how we can do that. So, final, whatever, result is await DB query. Okay, that's what we did first. That's what we do first. Await the query, and we need to provide the query in here, comma, vars, which are optional, I guess. Why is it complaining? Oh, on SurrealDB, which will be just query. Oh, that means we need to import SurrealDB in here. There we go. There we go. Hopefully this is not gonna turn into dependency like hell of what refers to what. And this needs to be async. So now we can await. Now we need to specify this as a future. Okay. All right. All right. Even better. So we do query and doesn't evaluate to a function, so it can't. What? Okay. Expected to find. Ah, I see. There we go. Now it's a little bit better. Still, this confuses me, but in that case, how do we handle if we have like no value returned? I guess we pretend that is okay is false, and we create an object anyway. So if result is null, right? I don't remember that was a good way to check for it, but whatever. If result is null, we're gonna create a new query result anyway. So query result type T, we'll just say dot error. How about that? And that's all we're gonna do. Okay, and that will return us something. Return. There we go. Otherwise, I mean, we don't even need else in here. Otherwise, we will basically say return result extract query. And that's that, I guess. It's just stuff isn't happy here. And T. There we go. So now let's just implement that error one, the constructor. So query result. So should be error. With this, we need to basically specify that data is map. I mean, it expects that, right? Can I just do this where we have result will be null? No. Element T can be assigned map key type string. There we go. Result is this. Status is... I don't even know what the status should be. We'll do error for now. And then the third one will be time, which will be... Come on. Time 0... whatever. Seconds. Doesn't matter. Time doesn't matter, but we're going to create something. I presume, in theory, we could make this whole thing a little bit nicer with, I don't know, making it static or something. But for now, this should be fine. All right. Screw the line, screw the linter. Now we can do the error. So we have this. We don't need to check if this is null because I guess we already took care of it. And bam. Okay. So the result will be just object. Here it's not anymore. Okay, so in theory we could simplify it even more so that we have final query result is await db dot single query, which will be return 1 to 3. And we just need to specify that we expect it to be an integer. And just like that, we have a single line. And hopefully it will still work. Refresh, and it worked. Beautiful. Okay, all right. We're nearly done this thing. Thank you for your help, Taras, by the way. I really appreciate that. So now let's just make a quick test if we can actually expect some types to be somewhat possible. So let's say that I'm going to return a list of 1, 2, 3. So I'm expecting a list of integers to be returned. Will this work? We refresh. No, it did not work. Why? Did the database? Type list dynamic is not a subtype of list end in typecast. Ah, of course. So basically deserialization here, it's absolute trash. Oh dear. Why can't I cast it to a list of integers? I know it's a list of dynamic, but I just specified to you that it's an integer. Okay, I guess we'll need to accept that working with data that's dynamic will be absolute pain. And that's that. just in case, we can always do dynamic and just live an ignorant life. Yep, that works. We'll make entire thing dynamic. We'll solve all the problems. Just lose type safety. Oh well. All right. Yeah. Have you tried list.castInt? I have not. I have not heard about list.cast or lowercase list. There's no lowercase list. And I don't think I can do it inside of a type definition, right? I don't mind doing that, on the go down the line, but the fact that I can't say, hey, I'm expecting a list of integers kind of sucks. Because that means now that if I'm going to create some kind of, let's say, I have the habit object, I'm going to go here. I have like an object, habit, right? Suddenly it means I can't deserialize it. I can't just say, hey, I'm expecting a list of habit. I would need to say that I'm expecting a list of dynamic and make my own separate thing that, okay, now that it's dynamic, I'm going to extract a date time, and then I'm going to extract name, and then maybe if I have history elements, I need to expect that it's a list of this, and for each one of them extract it, do like a bunch of manual stuff. So that kind of sucks, but I guess that's it. Probably this whole thing doesn't work. I mean, it would kind of work if that was JSON. We could probably do some magic, but again, I don't know how it does in Dart. So we'll see how far we can go. We're gonna make it work, as simple as we can get initially, and then maybe as we learn the patterns, we're gonna figure out how to do it. But for now, I'm happy that we can send queries to the database. No problem. We can expect some kind of result. Connection works. We actually injected as a inject the database as a into our context as a service, through dependency injection. So that works great. And so I guess next step would be to, hey, we can make like a injectable config so that we can get that, and therefore this could reuse that config. But we're gonna do that, as we work on the project. So I'd say this was the last live stream where, it's purely Dart. From now on, we're gonna have like a combined series of live streams, which is React plus Dart. And that'll be it, right? And this way I'm gonna learn React on the go, we're gonna learn Dart on the go, and make it work with SurrealDB, which is kind of fun. Okay, so I ran out of time today. I actually took way longer than I expected. But yeah, I think we got a decent results. Once I clean this out, I'm gonna, we can do it probably now, right? We don't have source control here, really. Entire habit tracker, there we go. So we have our getIgnore, we have our bunch of other stuff that was created for us, right? Oh, it tries to push idea files. Seriously, the getIgnore. Yeah. Tries to push. Default ignore, shove, but rest just stays. I don't want any idea stuff. Backend. Ignore. Oh, it's editor only. Come on. Backend. GetIgnore. Now, oh, now it's much better, right? We don't have any bad ideas. This one sneaked in. There we go. Okay, so we have our extensions for some reason. Blah, blah, blah. Our new Dart files. So yeah, whoops, cancel. I really don't like that interface. Serial Dart, index, yes, middleware, habit. Okay, so we're gonna just push that, and this will be create basic backend. Dart only recently got rid of non-static type safety, so they need some time to brush it off nicely. Okay, all right. I'm glad to hear that it's still evolving. So create basic backend project, and this will be Dart Livestream number 6, and that'll be it. I'm gonna commit it, sync it, and it should show up, right? So we can, just in case, go to github.com. I can search for habit, we have our habit tracker, and that's it. If someone is interested, code will be here, as always. And that's that. So thank you for watching today. And Taras says also, Dart 3 was introduction of sound type safety. Oh, so this entire time there was no sound type safety. Wow, okay, so this is all new. That's surprising, to be honest. That's actually surprising, so that's awesome. All right, so thank you everyone for watching. I hope you learned something just like I did. And see you probably tomorrow, because the plan is to have a stream every day and kind of push myself to finish the project, learn React Dart, and, you know, accomplish something. So thank you again, and see you tomorrow.